Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. We're in the studio, so get involved in the chat and the comments. We're going to be talking about all the latest Manchester United news, which means all the latest Bryan Mbeumo news. It is the Bryan Mbeumo channel at the minute, innit? We're trying to wait and see what's happening with the updates. When is he going to sign? When is he going to have his medical? We've had a few more stories regarding that, so we're going to get into all that in a second. We'll also have a little bit more on Victor Gyökeres as well. There could be something happening there. We'll get into that and find out just what the latest reports are indicating. And also Jadon Sancho too. What's going on with him? Plus, someone's just signed a new contract at Manchester United. Who is it? We'll get into all that. Make sure you're hitting like, share and subscribe. Good to see so many people in the chat already. Chikoya Trot, Mick Hollahan, a full named Huggy, Stu Campbell, Maurice Marshall, Heaven's Soul. Good to see all you wonderful people. Robert Tater, the usual suspects, all present and correct. Right, let's get into this Bryan Mbeumo Medical. So this is, I spoke about these articles yesterday. Actually, it was either yesterday or the day before. The Manchester Evening News opinion pieces, a lot of the time, are actually quite useful because it give you a bit of a roundup on what is happening with certain stories and just the latest without it being just a news one. It's someone's sort of analysis and take on it. So you can see this one from Bruno Rice this morning. It says the latest Manchester United transfer news and gossip. Yeah. Anyway. Says it, Manchester United are reportedly closing in on a second summer signing, Bryan Mbeumo. The Reds identified Mbeumo as the main target. Yeah, we know all that. And I think it says here, so you keep going, there we go. According to TalkSport's Alex Crook, Bryan Mbeumo is expected to have his medical at United next week. The Manchester Evening News reported this week that United were close to finalising the signing of the Brentford star following a new bid exceeding 60 million. However, the exact figure remains unclear, although reports suggest Brentford are aiming for around 63 million quid. So we can you can get rid of that. We expect it to be, I think, 50 odd million and maybe 10 million in add-ons. That would make sense to it. So then Brentford can say we got 60 odd million, United can say we paid 50 odd million up front. Everyone's happy. Just depends on the nature of those add-ons, the nature of how much is up front. We'll have to wait and see. That's more of a hunch than any sort of ITK knowledge. But let me know what you think. Do you think this deal is pretty much done? Does anyone have any concerns? You got people reporting he's going to have his medical next week. Everyone seems to agree that this is going to happen, and almost that the figures add up and that the clubs are almost there in terms of the fee. It's just how it's going to be paid and how much is up front and how much is add-ons and all that stuff. Does anyone have any concerns? And also Bryan Mbeumo, is everyone set on him? Do everyone think he's the right signing for Manchester United? I've been sort of rapping about him for a little while now. I think he's a very good signing. I think this deal will get done, and I think Cunha and Mbeumo coming in is a massive step in the right direction. We were speaking about this on Off the Bar yesterday, myself, Stephen Howson and Joe Smith, talking about what difference it could make. Steve was sort of saying we need a striker as well, and if we get another striker, then we can really challenge up the right end of the table, not the very top of the table, but certainly in the top half. I'd like to see us bring in another striker. I wouldn't be that shocked if we didn't. I'm not saying we don't need one. I'm just saying we might not bring one in, or we might bring one later on in the transfer window, even deadline day. I think there might be some shenanigans on deadline day. Let me know what you think. Glazers Out says, still need a new goalkeeper. Chevalier or Costa, Onana's a clown. Eshan Ahmad says, do you think we will get Gyökeres? I don't want to sit on the fence. I want to give you a definitive answer. Probably not. But I think it could still happen. It could happen. And I think if it does, it might be later on in the window. Because I say this all the time, and I'm going to get to Gyökeres fully in a minute, but he hasn't had the suitors, he hasn't had the bids, I think, coming in that perhaps him and his agent, even Sporting Lisbon, thought he would have. And he seems to have fallen out with people at Sporting, including the president, El Presidente. Them two have had a little bit of a ban, haven't they? I think we've got another Mbeumo story as well. Yeah, it just says the same sort of thing. United, I think this is from the Independent. Man United one step closer to signing Mbeumo. Another interesting one here. We spoke about this the other day. Mbeumo is expected to triple his 45k per week salary with a move to Old Trafford. Do you remember when everyone was saying he's going to get £250,000 a week and all this? He's going to have big money. I spoke about this, but he's probably going to be about 150k, which seems about right. But everyone seems to be running with the idea that this is going to happen. It's moving a step closer. Medical next week. The clubs aren't a million miles away from where they need to be in terms of agreeing. The player's obviously happy to come to Manchester United. He made that clear. David Ornstein ran that story a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, saying that Mbeumo preferred Manchester United. The Spurs bid that Darren Lewis was reporting doesn't seem to have happened. I love Darren Lewis, but no one else reported that. It doesn't feel like it was real. I think he might have been given a bit of duff information there. So we'll wait and see, but I expect Bryan Mbeumo to be a Manchester United player sooner rather than later. One player who might not be a Manchester United player much longer is Jadon Sancho. I think we've got a Sancho story here. So Jadon Sancho, there was talk of him maybe got Juve, other clubs looking at him. It says here, Man United given renewed hope over Jadon Sancho transfer as new club enters the race. If you scroll up, we'll be able to see a bit more of that. Says Fenerbahce already linked with Sancho, who has found things tough at Old Trafford since joining in a big money move from Dortmund in 2021. Jose Mourinho aren't the only side in the mix, though. That doesn't make any sense. According to the Sun, the hashtag don't buy the Sun, Juve are now ready to test United resolve. The Serie A club are looking to add to their ranks after installing Igor Tudor, which is a fantastic name, as manager, and Sancho is said to be a target. It goes on to give you a bit of background about Juve. He could work in Serie A, to be fair. Jadon Sancho in Serie A, I think, would be a good shout. However, we'll have to wait and see. We know he's not going to be going back to Chelsea. They offered him, I think, 90 grand a week. He didn't want that. There was talk of a few other Italian clubs being interested in him. I think Napoli was perhaps one as well. You can get rid of that. But Juve also sort of being linked with him, I think, should we say. I don't think there's anything there we go, this is going to happen. But he's obviously still got a few suitors. We'll have to wait and see if the transfer fee can be agreed, and also the wages, because Jadon Sancho is on hefty money. I think he's on about 250k a week, just almost basic. His basic wage. I think there's more add-ons on top of that if obviously, win trophies and qualify for Champions League and all the rest of it. But I think his salary is very high, because when we signed him from Dortmund, we chased him for about 18 months. He was obviously smashing it at Dortmund. I think it was 36 goal involvements in 39 games or thereabouts in his final season there. So United moved heaven and earth to get him, offered him big money, and he has been a disastrous signing. Let's not sugarcoat it. Jadon Sancho's move to Manchester United has been one of the worst transfers ever. Now, I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying there hasn't been moments. But considering the hype, considering how much we paid for him, considering the drama that has gone on with Jadon Sancho, it is ridiculous that Manchester United bought Jadon Sancho, and we've never really had a full season out of him, have we? If you look at that first season, he was in and out of the team, did okay. In some games, I think he scored at the Etihad, scored at Stamford Bridge, didn't set the world alight. Was almost struggling to get in the team at one point. Then Erik ten Hag comes in, tries to move him around a little bit, doesn't really work. Then he has to have a few months off for different. We're not sure on the reasons. I think some people say it was physical, just getting himself fit physically, or they say mentally. For whatever reason, he goes away to, I think, to Holland for 3 months, comes back, doesn't really feature much after that. Has a big fallout with the manager, goes to social media to criticise the manager, and then he's loaned back to Dortmund, who United paid 72 or 73 million quid to buy him from, loaned back to them while we pay some of his wages. Then he comes back, then he gets loaned out again to Chelsea. Again, I think we paid some of his wages there, and now he could be heading back to Old Trafford, and we're trying to get rid of him. It's been a horrible transfer. It just has. Manchester United have to take some blame as well, because I think we bought him not even knowing what his best position was, which is just insane. And also you have to look at the professionalism and the mindset of the player, because as soon as we got him and things started going wrong, then there was talk, well, actually at Dortmund this happened, and he had to sort of be paired up with Erling Haaland, so Erling Haaland's professionalism would rub off on him. It was just a terrible situation. Papa Lucio says, morning Jay, morning. Good see Akash K in the chat as well. Ben Grieg says, Sancho is a foolish boy, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to grow out of that very soon. I think you might be right. Joe James John says he became Jason Sanchez. Remember those days when he was Jason Sanchez? I like this. BM Pokemon UK says, like the video, people. Not even 100 likes yet. Morning, Jay, mate. Morning to you as well. And he's right. Let's get to 200 likes minimum. Let's talk about this other link. We've got here Carnesecchi. This is one doing the rounds this morning. If we can get him on the screen, which we are going to do anytime now. Let's move on. Let's get Zaire-Emery on there. Let's talk about Zaire-Emery. I think we've got gremlins in the machine here. This was doing the rounds here, I think, yesterday. And this morning, you see it from yesterday, Ruud Galetti. Manchester United are exploring a move for Paris Saint-Germain midfielder Warren Zaire-Emery. Team talk understands, though Ruben Amorim's side face serious obstacles. This is a kid, how old is he? About 19. He's very young, isn't he? Zaire-Emery. Obviously at PSG, very exciting midfielder. Is there anything in that? I'm not so sure. Let me just have a look. Yeah, he's 19. Obviously got 7 caps for France, done well. Obviously PSG are doing very well, but he's, could be available. I doubt it. I don't know. This seems a bit weird to me. Is he going to come from PSG to Manchester United? Are we going to get him? I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it, but it does seem a little bit unlikely. It says here, we understand that Man United have started making exploratory contacts to understand the possible conditions of a blockbuster deal for Zaire-Emery. Really? I just can't see that. And also his price tag is 85.3 million. I'm going to file that under. In fact, you know what I'm going to file that under? That's going to be one of the ones, of all the transfer news that isn't going to happen, this one isn't going to happen the most. You can get rid of that. Yeah, I think that's nonsense. Have you got your Carnesecchi one, or Carnesecchi, sorry? Let's stick this one up. There's some nice small writing. So where's this from, sorry? Sorry? It's anyway. Right, so Fabrizio Romano on his YouTube channel has confirmed that Manchester United are keeping close tabs on several goalkeepers, with Marco Carnesecchi, one of the standout names, being watched. The 24-year-old has been in superb form for Atalanta, helping them lift the Europa League trophy and keeping 28 clean sheets in his last 76 games. Yeah, sorry, they won it the year before. I mean, Atalanta don't sell players for cheap. We know that from our dealings with them when we got Amad Diallo after he played about an hour of football. I'm not saying we shouldn't have bought him. I think he cost 20 million quid and maybe up to 37. And you look at the deal for Rasmus Højlund as well. That one was, I think, around 70 odd million pound for a player who'd had basically one good season there. So if you are going to get a player from Atalanta, you've got to be prepared to pay quite a bit of money. Goalkeeping situation is a funny one, isn't it? Lot of doubters around Andre Onana. It seems as though the manager does or is willing to give him one more season, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. We were linked, weren't we, with Emi Martinez, but we'll have to wait and see. Tobias Nilsson, welcome to the first team. Santa Not says, keeping tabs, United's transferred to Bingo. Yep, we always have that one. Ben Gregg says, Sancho's someone now, I hope he doesn't recover his career. Just go then continue to fail. I don't mind if he goes and recovers his career, Jadon Sancho, allow me to go backwards. I just don't think he's got a future at Manchester United, to be honest with you. Let's talk about Tom Heaton. Signed a new deal. I think we saw this literally about 10 minutes ago. Man United put a post up. Tom Heaton has signed a new deal at Manchester United. There you go. Heaton signs a new contract. Just scroll up. It says here, signed a new one-year deal at Manchester United. Look, makes sense to me. He's barely going to play in here. I don't even think he might not even play any games for the first team next season, but he's a very good professional. He's been around the club on and off for obviously a number of years, and we've spoken to Tom Heaton a few times. He's a good character to have around the dressing room. Do you remember it wasn't that long ago he went away with England as well as a sort of coaching sort of slash, I don't know what it was, just like almost like a player slash coaching role, just to have him in that group because of the experience he brings and the way he can sort of gel with others as well. And I think having him for one more year, it just makes sense to me. I think with the third choice goalkeeper, you've got one way or the other, don't you? You have someone who's got bags of experience, or you have someone who's young and up and coming. And United have obviously gone with bags of experience, and I like that idea, because we are losing some experienced players this summer as well. Johnny Evans, I think, has gone into his scouting loan role, like looking after the loanees, but he's not obviously going to be in the first team anymore. Christian Eriksen's leaving, Victor Lindelof is leaving. Experienced players, it's good to keep some around, and I think Tom Heaton, it just makes a lot of sense to me. That one, third choice goalkeeper, who, even if you didn't need him as well, if Tom Heaton's starting for Manchester United in the odd game or whatever, I'm not bothered about that. I don't think, oh my God, why is Tom Heaton starting? I think he's still got a little bit to offer. Heaven Soul says Heat 1. Let's talk about Ruud van Nistelrooy. Ruud van Nistelrooy leaves relegated Leicester after 27 games as manager. Just a disastrous move, wasn't it? Ruud got to Leicester. Didn't work out at all. think that one of the main issues one of the surprising parts of this move when Ruud went to Leicester was he'd come up against Leicester twice as caretaker manager at Manchester United. You remember the 4 games that Ruud van Nistelrooy managed us for? 2 of them were against Leicester. He'd seen firsthand how poor that team was, and yet he still went there. Now, maybe he went there and he thought, well, I've seen them, they're poor, but they've been playing against the Manchester United team I've got to tune out of. They're not going to play against teams like that every week. I can do something with them. Maybe he'd seen something within that team, within that squad, within those games where he thought, actually, there's 1 or 2 players I can work with. It just surprised me he went there, and it sort of damaged his reputation, because I think after the caretaker spell at United, his reputation was quite high. He'd done well at PSV, he'd come in at United coach, then he'd become United caretaker manager. I don't think he'd been particularly damaged by what had happened under Erik ten Hag, just before Erik ten Hag got sacked. Comes in, steadies the ship, does well, couple of wins, I think it was, a decent draw against Chelsea as well, and you're thinking, okay, yep, looking good. He's probably got his pick of a few jobs around Europe. Maybe goes into another coaching role, maybe he does a bit of scouting, maybe he takes a manager's job, maybe he waits till the end of the season, which is probably what he should have done. Goes to Leicester, who were already struggling, and breaks all sorts of records for the wrong reasons. I think they went, was it the longest game run without a goal? Just plummeted. Well, not plummeted, they were already right near the bottom, but yeah, if it wasn't for Southampton, I think things would have even been worse. So a bad move for Ruud van Nistelrooy. I do wish him well. I don't think he's going to come back to Manchester United in some capacity. Ruben Amorim kind of made it clear. I think it was better that Ruud van Nistelrooy moved on. And whilst I like Ruud van Nistelrooy, he's a club legend and he did well as caretaker manager, I get it. If you're a new manager coming in, you want to bring in your new sort of your own coaching staff and sort of move away from what's gone on before. And having Ruud there might have felt a little bit like the sword of Damocles hanging over you. So I understand why he did that, why Ruben Amorim wanted to move away from that. I think it was a kind of mutual decision, but I'm guessing Ruben Amorim made it. So I don't expect Ruud van Nistelrooy to come back to Manchester United, but I do wish him well. And I hope people are not too judgmental about what went on at Leicester. I hope it doesn't tarnish his reputation too much. He's he's still got a lot to offer. Amir Fikri says, here we go soon. I think you're talking about Mbeumo. We're waiting for the here we go. I wonder if Romano's going to do one of those. Yeah, well, what you've just said, here we go soon. He does that now, doesn't he? Where he goes, here we go soon, and then he does his here we go. Jacoya Trot says, Ruud will bounce back as manager, or as a manager. Akash K says, I would have had Ruud as interim till season end at least. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, eh? A lot of people said that, didn't they? They said if we would have kept Ruud van Nistelrooy at the end of the season and then brought in Ruben Amorim, would that have been better? Would United have finished higher than 15th and maybe won something last season? Would Ruben Amorim be given a bit more breathing space this season because he wouldn't have had the pressure of having sort of faltered last season? However, I'm hoping that the fact Ruben Amorim has been at United for 6 months, whatever it was, 7 months, is going to help him next season. I'm hoping he's learned enough and he's seen enough from the team and he's sort of ingrained in these players. This is the system we played. So it is a benefit for next season. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping we'll look back and we'll go, it's good that we got him in mid-season because that gave him the rest of that season to sort of get used to the club, get used to the players, get used to his system, and then we kicked on from there. That's what I'm hoping. I mean, we don't know. We'll wait and see. I just thought we don't look back at it and go, it was a disastrous move for Ruud van Nistelrooy to go to Leicester. It was also a disastrous move for us to get rid of him. I don't think that will be the case, but we will wait and see. Adam Kenny says, that's why they say hindsight is 50-50. Stefan Horn says, if Onana is to stay, I just hope he's going to work on his weaknesses. It's a good point now. We almost forget about players working on areas of their game, players being coached. You think, well, he's 27 or whatever he is now, that's it, he's he is who he is. You can work with players, you can, work on certain attributes of their game. Hopefully he can do a little bit of that with Andre Onana. If, as it seems he's going to stick around and be Manchester United's number one, because Tommy might sound a new deal, but he's not going to be the number one goalkeeper. I'd be very surprised if that happens. Ali Bayande hasn't covered himself in glory when he's come into the team, and it doesn't look like there's much movement at the minute with other goalkeepers. We're being linked sort of with other goalkeepers. Emi Martinez seems to be the main one, but nothing too sort of concrete, shall we say. I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to be back later on today. We've got The Brew, myself, Joe Smith, and Stephen Howson. You can also go and check out Off the Bar. You can also go and check out all the other videos we've got on the channel. Loads of other videos. Bryan Mbeumo with the super chat says, regarding keeping Ruud as interim, I'm in the McCullough camp that these players would have put the wool over his eyes and done the same in second season. Yeah, I think, look, we know what we've done. We know what's happened. We know what we need to do next season. We've brought in a couple of players. Well, we've brought in Mateus Cunha. It looks like Bryan Mbeumo is going to join very soon. And hopefully, Ruben Amorim can get a few more in because we need to take more than them two. And we can kick on and get Manchester United back to where we should be, challenging at the top of the table. I'm going to leave it there. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.